certainly a big name signing, isn't he? One that I think the fans will be fairly excited about.
Season 8, a brand new season and hopefully our best squad yet. Now there's been some big changes, 30 million worth going out the door, 21.5 million coming in. First of all, Capone, he's away to Saudi, he triggered his release clause, he's gone for 13 million. Massive blow. I cashed in on Kual, it was a tough decision, but 10 million from Rangers swayed me. Shaka Traore leaves for Betis. Then we've got a whole host of squad players also leaving the club. We replaced them with Zeno Debast for 2 million from Sporting. Free transfer Diego Spencer, fullback. You already knew about Diego Carabali and that massive signing of Marco Moretti. He's back at Provicelli. And the last transfer we made was defender Sebastian Alvarez. He's definitely the long-term replacement for Di Marino, who is not happy after I gave the vice-captaincy to fellow chosen one, Condello. Tactically, I've been messing around with the tactic, trying to decide on what to do for the season. Speaking of the season, we started off with some really tough fixtures. First up was Inter Milan. We lost a really tight match 1-0, but then got a really good draw against Juventus. Both matches really tight, so that's pretty promising. With my coach team now looking pretty good, it was time to focus on the scout team. We've still only got 3 out of 10 scouts. If you remember, that was because of my worries about the club finances, but look at it now, 45 million. In fact, I still haven't changed the scouting range, still on no scouting. So we're going to explore building up the recruitment team so we can actually get coverage around the world. And that starts with building up this scout team, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. So we've lost Capone, what is a massive blow down at right back, but we do have Ramirez ready to jump in. This is Ramirez, and this is why it's so important to make sure that you get a player in, ready to jump in for your next player if you think they're going to leave. And the way we've done it with Ramirez, if you look at that, we bought him in for 1.1 million, and we just slowly bedded him in last season, mostly with sub appearances. So now he's ready to go. So I've also bought in 2 centre-backs, which for our formation is pretty tricky because we've got 2 centre-backs as chosen one players, but I'm just planning for the future. The Bast is a quality player, 5.5 million now valued at 6.6. He only cost me 2 million and he can jump into defensive midfield as well. I'm probably more excited about Alvarez, who's already an international for Uruguay with 7 caps. You can see he's got a head in 17. He's got everything we want and he is only 21. So for probably the first time, there's a bit of pressure on Colina and Di Marino. If only they didn't know the rules of this save where they have to start every blooming match. Our season finally took off against Lecce at home. This was a really impressive win, 4-1, and Esposito started to fly. Against the big boys again, Napoli, another match where we played pretty well. Then it was home to Bologna, and look at Ramirez getting involved, our new right back. He had a key pass in the first, and on the second it was all about him down that right hand side, as he supplied 2 goals for Esposito. We battered Bologna and we got a thumping 4-1 win. At only 19, Ramirez looks like a decent player and he even got on the score sheet, so we're not going to miss Capone too much. Also in that match, Condello, who had a bit of a quiet season last season, his role has slightly changed these last few matches and he's came alive. The way we're shaping up at the minute is the wing-back position, Parejo, he's dropped back to full-back attack because we're getting exposed down that left-hand side too much. And the inside forward role, I'm thinking with 2 forwards already, let's drop him back to inverted winger. It's done well for Condello, he's now got 4 goals in 6 matches, and if you compare that to last season where his total was 9 all season, it's a great start. Chosen one Ruti has been a bit quieter with only 1 goal. That's been offset by Esposito, who scored 6 and 7, but worryingly, clubs in Saudi are starting to show an interest. So I talked about Di Marino in the last episode, and you can see what I'm struggling with here. He's only just came back from injury, but his performances have not been good. They're down to 6.5. He is a bit of a worry. He's probably better off playing at left back, but we need Parejo to play there. So Di Marino, I love him, but he's a bit of a problem child at the minute, but we've got to suck it up. We continue to chip away at the scouting team. We've now got 6 out of allocated 10, starting to rise up, not as embarrassingly low as we once were. How about Moretti? Well, he's back at the club, but at the minute I can't get him back in the team because obviously he's not a chosen one yet, even though he was, if that makes sense. In an ideal world, he'd probably be playing here, but to get Sulaj into this team, he's playing there. The other option is to drop him back into Mensah's position, but Sulaj with his positioning of 7, tackling of 10, and Yaya with similar 10 and 12, they're not the best defensive midfielders. So to put them next to each other in there would be a bit of a risk. But in honesty, looking at Mensah's performances at the minute, at 6.67, he's not exactly undroppable. And if I look at his data hub, and what I want him for is his defending, he's struggling a bit, way down in terms of blocks and clearances. He is doing the basics right, such as tackling and pass completion, but it is an option to drop him down to the bench. The more I think about it, that probably is a decent option, because that would let me put Sulaj into there, and then I've got a choice of Moretti jumping in, or even Karabali, who is classed as a wonder kid, this kid. He's going to be something special. We had another winnable match in the next game against Monza, and yet again Esposito bagged it. We weren't at our best, but we did enough. That means at this early stage of the season, we're sitting in 8th position, just 2 losses, and that was to Napoli and Inter. 13 points, pretty decent. And for the first time in what seems like forever, the season preview wasn't too harsh to us, up to 400 to 1. 12th place position predicted. Another big change has been this, the tempo. I've dropped it down to standard against teams that we are dominating. Sometimes when we're playing higher tempo against teams that we should be beating, we're giving the ball away stupidly. So things are going okay, but I just can't help but think that this position at the minute is a bit of a waste. With a playmaker on the pitch, you'd look for him to be somewhat involved in the key pass table. But looking at my key passes, most of them are coming from the wingers in Parejo, the wing back, Karabali when he gets on at winger, and Condello, and there's no sign of Sulaj. So I think I might have just convinced myself that Mensah's going to get dropped, Sulaj is going to drop back. I'm going to play Moretti or Karabali in this position. That will lead to another slight change where we're going to have double fullbacks on attack with double inverted wingers. We're going to give it a go now against Sampdoria, a match that we should look to get something out of. You can tell they're not having a good season because look at all the weaknesses that our scouts have identified. In fact, the only person we need to perhaps watch is Kani Chukwuemeka, who's in central midfield, so we're going to mark him tightly. You could tell from the start of the match that Sampdoria are going to try and play on the break. Look how deep they are, despite being the home team. And thankfully, marking Chukwuemeka tight was a key in the first goal. There it is, the ball's about to get played to him. And Yaya, in his new defensive destroyer role, picks it up. Esposito deflected, gives us the lead. Second goal's just gone in, it's a work of art. Di Marino to Sulaj in his new position. Lovely ball over. Karabali, we wanted him in the team, and there's Esposito doing what he does. It wasn't even half time, but look at all the key passes coming in from our boys. Match ends 3-0, that bumping win keeps us on the right track. We've only lost really to the big boys. Speaking of which, AC Milan up next. Looking at Milan's team, they're a good team, aren't they? But they've got one player struggling a bit. Derrida, his last 5 matches, he's only averaging 6.64, so we're going to trigger press on him and try and put him under pressure. This was the opposite problem to the last match, as Milan came at us, even at our spot. This was a game we dominated with almost triple the amount of final third passes that AC Milan had. Despite that though, AC Milan did take the lead early on, but we hustled and then final third passes finally came to fruition as we got a deserved equaliser through Condello. Game ended 1-1, plenty of chances for us. We are playing really well against the bigger teams now. So after a start to the season which has seen us already play AC Milan, Juventus, Inter and Napoli, we sit in a pretty decent 8th position. With some kind of fixtures to come, I'm hoping that when we come back we might be in a decent spot.